Hi there, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Melissa. I work here at Encore as a marketing specialist, and today we'll be talking about how to launch a new online revenue stream quickly. And we've got Mike Brenneman here from Sauna to take us through that. Hi there, Mike.
Hi, thanks, Melissa, and big thanks to the Encore team for having us today, and welcome everybody that's joined today's session. Our session this afternoon is going to be about diversifying your revenue streams, specifically with an online channel. And this is a challenge that's top of mind for a lot of organizations right now, especially for those who traditionally have relied on offline sales and are now seeing a lot of disruptions in their business. Ultimately, the lesson here will be that you can't expect one channel to do it all for you, especially if you're still just operating offline or you don't have transactional capabilities online yet, because you just have a catalog, and you're limiting yourself to just that one channel. Now, when you pair it with another, for example, e-commerce, you benefit from the opportunities presented by both revenue streams, separately as individual channels and combined for an omni-channel approach. So we're going to dive into all of this and how you can launch an online revenue stream if you haven't already in the next 60 minutes. Once we get through the presentation, we're also going to jump into my demo environment, and I'll actually walk you through how Sauna works, and we can spend a little bit of time doing a solution overview as well. So looking forward to today. And just a little bit of information about myself. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I've been in the software and the technology space since 2008. I've sold Microsoft CRM, I've sold Microsoft ERP, both Dynamics Nav, as well as AX and D365 F&O. So I've kind of been in the channel, if you will, for quite some time, but I made the jump over to Sauna about 2.5 years ago, and have really fallen in love with the e-commerce aspect of the digital transformation. So looking forward to our time together here today. So we're going to dive into the numbers. We're going to take a look at how e-commerce impacts revenue, efficiency, and customer relationships. We're also going to take a look at the risk, how not investing in an online revenue stream early enough can possibly put you behind your competition. We don't want that. And we're also going to take a look at the fix, the benefits of investing in an ERP integrated e-commerce solution. So we're going to start with some numbers to give you an overview that's a little bit more concrete and a good view of the landscape that we're dealing with here, what it could mean for your business, and importantly, what opportunities, revenue and otherwise, are presented. The three main opportunities we want to highlight today are how an online revenue stream improves the efficiency of your processes, whether that's the sales processes, order management, etc. Enables a fast return on investment in addition to driving significant additional revenue, and improves your customer experience and service, and thus hopefully the customer relationship itself. So let's start off talking about efficiency. Firstly, the data tells us that on average, the vast majority of organizations save a massive amount of time and money by investing in e-commerce. And this stems from things like reduced order errors, which as you can see is true for about 72% of organizations, more efficient processes, and an online channel that frees up sales reps' time so they can focus on other priorities like lead generation. And one fun fact I want to share is one that really tells you why order error reduction matters. According to our own research, order errors result in at least 25% reduction in efficiency, productivity, and sales. And this is true for about 75% of B2B organizations. So it's pretty easy to see scanning these stats here that investing in e-commerce at all has some serious advantages. But when you pursue an ERP integrated e-commerce approach, you can benefit from even more. And we'll dive into this as we get through the presentation. But for right now, let's look at the opposite end of the spectrum, not what you're saving, but rather the timeline for a positive ROI and profitability with B2B e-commerce. So any B2B organization looking to make a significant investment to accelerate their business success hopes to see ROI as quickly as possible. No news to any of us, right? But their optimism appears to be well-founded based on the data that we're seeing. But even these businesses seem to even slightly underestimate the true power of e-commerce. In fact, after investing in B2B e-commerce, 91% of organizations surveyed saw ROI within 2 years, though only 87% actually expected to. But what's even more promising is that 64% of respondents surveyed in our digital transformation and B2B e-commerce report actually saw ROI in less than a year. So you can see that letting customers buy online when they previously couldn't, or when it was previously too challenging to do so, will not just mean a fast ROI, but it'll also naturally result in more revenue as it becomes cheaper to service previously offline buyers online, and as you acquire new customers online as well. And then finally, let's talk about what truly matters, which is at the end of the day, your customers. The fact of the matter is that buyers across B2B and B2C are all accustomed to and largely prefer buying online. So not offering them the ability to engage with you how and where they prefer already puts you at a disadvantage. But their expectations are even more demanding. It's not enough anymore just to throw your offline catalog on the web. B2B buyers are actually giving preference to vendors who offer online sales functionalities. And when evaluating alternatives during the buying process, more than a third of the buyers we surveyed considered the ability to track orders online, to order through an online sales portal, to manage returns online, and to pay online the top factors that would persuade them to actually choose a vendor. Among those vendors, the top 10 see these buyers making repeat purchases monthly, weekly, and often even daily. And this recurring revenue can mean a massive boost to the bottom line over time, but it takes a strong online customer experience to do so. So now that we've covered some of the numbers that I think matter, you should by now have a good overview of what opportunities you're looking at when it comes to e-commerce. So now let's look at the other side, being the risk, right? But not the risk of e-commerce, the risk of not investing in e-commerce, and more importantly, not investing soon enough. With e-commerce, you need to act short-term and you need to act immediately. So many buyers are already demanding not just e-commerce, but really sophisticated and very feature-rich B2B e-commerce. So you're already lagging a little behind if you don't have e-commerce yet, that's okay. But if you're not planning to, then you're gonna face some of the issues possibly that you see here, which are top concerns of organizations when it comes to not making the investment. 16% think impact would be minimal, but between 20 and 35 expect decreased revenue, loss of customers, and a lost competitive edge, or maybe all of these things. But that's not all either, because when you choose not to invest in e-commerce, you also miss out on another opportunity that's pretty ripe for the taking, given that you're already selling offline. And that opportunity is omnichannel, and it allows you to meld together your online and offline experiences for an even stronger and more seamless overall customer experience together. But of course, you can't do that if we don't have an online channel to begin with. So we've talked about what you need to do now, but why should you launch e-commerce now, and how that opens doors for future omnichannel opportunities? Your e-commerce strategy should include regular enhancements and improvements to your web store. The market and customer needs are changing. We need to be, making enhancements and improvements to our web stores to meet those changes and those demands. Too many organizations I see are thinking too short term, and maybe even just about getting a web store live and nothing else. But as half of B2B organizations aren't thinking about their digital strategy beyond 12 months ahead. And that serves a big problem. If we have this lack of long-term vision, quite a few additional opportunities that you might be missing out on. One is that you're not going to be agile enough to keep up with changes over time. This includes changes in your customers' needs. In fact, according to Walker's 2020 customer survey, 62% of companies are making tech investments specifically to meet the changing needs of their customers. you lose out on opportunities that haven't even yet presented themselves. Right on the right, you can see data from our most recent digital transformation report. This shows that while 40+% of B2B organizations saw the opportunity for new revenue streams, direct to consumer sales, or business model expansion as a direct result of e-commerce, however, an additional 25 to 30% expect to see that opportunity present itself in the future. So those businesses whose e-commerce strategies don't plan far enough ahead may miss out on the success if they don't play their cards quite right. But the key takeaway here is thinking short term lets you reap e-commerce's immediate benefits, and of course you may miss out on the long game wins if you don't continue to invest in that strategy. It's e-commerce is an iterative thing. So now that we've gotten a comprehensive overview of the opportunities and the risks of e-commerce and omnichannel and digitization, let's dive into the fix, right? The benefits of your ERP and e-commerce solution working together as one, and how it can best support a fast ROI. So let's take a look at the platform in action. And give me just a second here while I flip over to another screen. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through a couple of different experiences in order to show you Sauna and integrated deeply into the ERP system. We're going to take a look at this Outdoora front-end web store. I'm
Mike,
also,
I can see
yes.
your notes. Sorry, I can see your notes screen right now.
Oh, sorry. Bear with me for just a
No
second
problem.
here. That should be better, I think.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, thanks for catching that. Perfect. So yeah, so as I was mentioning, I'm gonna spend some time in the front end web store, this Outdoora demo environment here. I'm also gonna spend a little bit of time in the Sauna admin panel. This is where a lot of the content management is done, the CMS, if you will, a lot of the configuration, and a lot of the hyper personalization. And I can't tell you how important hyper personalization is to a web store, especially when we're talking about B2B, because at the end of the day, it's all about the customer experience, right? And in order to provide a good customer experience, we know that the site has to be efficient, which means that my customers can get in and they can get out very quickly. So we're going to cover, we're going to get a little bit deeper into that hyper personalization and how it lends itself to that today. And then we'll also spend a little bit of time back in D365. Just please know that if you're not using Business Central and you're using Finance and Operations, or you're using AX or Nav, the functionality is all going to be the same in the way that Sauna interacts with the ERP, regardless of which ERP system that you are on. Now, the Sauna web store can look however you want it to look and feel. There's a lot of flexibility from a design standpoint. As you take a look at this one web store from one of our customers, IHL Canada, you can kind of get a feel for how we've laid out the solution there for them. As we move over to Duotone, it's quite a bit different, right? They've got some large categories here that I can click through that take me into very different portions of the site. And then as you'll notice, as I come over to Revit as an example, this is a company that's even a little bit more progressive and has done quite a bit with YouTube on their site. The good news about all of these sites is that nobody needed a developer or anybody that knew how to code in order to build their beautiful Sauna web store. And we'll spend a little bit of time today showing you how easy it is to manage the content as we get a little bit further into the solution overview as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through a number of different experiences. And with Sauna, you get 3 different experiences out of the box. You get a B2C functionality, right, where you've got kind of a public-facing web store, if you will. And then you also get the B2B experience, what it looks like kind of behind the portal once we're logged in and we're already a known customer. And then you also get what we call sales agent functionality. So if you have salespeople or customer service people that need to be able to log in and represent a customer, either to create an order on their behalf or possibly to look up some of their order history or help them kind of self-serve. You can do that as well. And we're going to take a walk through those different experiences in that order. So I'm looking at the site publicly at first, and just to familiarize you with the site, you can see that I've got some different headers up here where I've got some different categories of product. Now you'll also notice that I've got an About Us header, Contact Us header, and you can actually use Sauna to create as much content as you possibly want. So it doesn't necessarily have to be catalog related, like product pages or product list pages. You could actually use Sauna in order to build your entire website or replace your entire corporate website if you wanted to. You could have a careers page, blog, newsletter, etc. And you can create all of those content pages very easily right here from within the Sauna admin panel. Now, as I scroll down a little bit further, you see I've got my product categories broken out. You also see that I've got just some other informational pages that I'm being led to. If I click on these are called flexi tiles. And then maybe a where to buy, store locator, dealer, or distributor locator. And then, of course, down into my sitemap and newsletter sign up. Now, again, you can make this look and feel however you want in order to represent your unique brand, and we'll spend a little bit more time showing you how to do that as we get into the demo. But for now, I want to go ahead and I want to drill into the demo environment and into the catalog. So I'm looking for a bike, and I'm looking at the site publicly. Notice I'm not logged in. Okay, as I click on the bikes category, it brings up these subcategories for me here, and it brings up this product list page. This can be flipped back over from either a list view to a grid view. The important thing to note here is that all of the data that you see on the screen is being driven by the Dynamics ERP system. So when we implement Sauna, we actually install an object, there's an object ERP add-on installation where we basically merge our code into the Dynamics environment. And when we do that, we update and we modify and we add table structure back into the ERP system. Okay, and what that ends up meaning is that it's not like we're just a shopping cart connecting to the ERP. We're actually turning the ERP system into the powerful e-commerce platform. Now, one of the objects that we add is within the item master record, right? And it's a little checkbox that says, make this item visible in web store. When that box is checked, we automatically create a product page and put it inside of the appropriate product list page and within the appropriate category hierarchy that you've assigned it to. But what that means is that if you're an organization that has a lot of SKUs, right, thousands of SKUs, you don't have to go creating all of your product pages from scratch. So we take all of the core data from the ERP system, like the item number, the inventory level, the price, the variance, the attributes, the description, and image, if you've got one attached to the item master. And we pull that through into the web store in order to create the actual product detail page. Now, you have the ability to add additional content in order to really make these product pages pop out on the web, right? And to add additional important information and descriptions and technical specification documents like you'll see here, specifications, attachments, reviews, right? To all the information that we need to give the customer in order to help them make their decision. So in order to add additional content to a product page, aside from the data that we pull from the ERP, you can go into the Sauna admin panel, click on product pages, and then you can just come right in here and you can override the description that's in the ERP. You can get a little bit more advanced with meta title, meta description. You can add as many images in as you'd like, and you can also do a bulk image upload. Or you could bring in things like YouTube videos by adding additional content elements across this 12-column grid structure. So if I come back over to the product page, you can see I've got a beautiful product page that's got thumbnail, regular, zoom size view. I also have the ability to read the full description, take a look at some of the other information that we just pointed out. I've got a nice YouTube video in there. I can compare the product to other products in my catalog. and I can add it to a wish list, or I could even view volume discounts or package contents if it's a part of a kit or a BOM back in the ERP. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add a couple of those into my cart. But I want to come back out here to the product list page, and I want to show you how the site can start to behave differently and become more hyper-personalized for your B2B customers. Because again, we need that hyper-personalized experience to really give them that efficiency to really help them get in and get out quickly. And not every B2B customer is the same, right? Some buy directly on orders. Some quote first and then convert to an order. Some have blanket agreements. Some have blanket orders rather, or sales agreements. Some have discount percentages that they receive, and others are assigned to discount tiers. The most important thing that you can think about needing to do when you're implementing an e-commerce platform is you need to be able to take all of the things that you've done over the past 10, 20, 100 years that you've been in business that have helped you foster those relationships with your customers and helped you become so successful offline, and you need to be able to offer them online, right? And it's impossible to do that without ERP-driven e-commerce because you end up trying to recreate all of that complex business logic in the ERP system out on the web. So when I log in as a different user, you're going to start to see some things change here. Now, if we take a look at this Shimano step spike, you can see it's $684 US, and we can't see the exact availability. We can only see that it's in stock, right? But now if I were to come up here and I were to log in as Frank as an example, you're going to notice that the site changes a little bit, right? Now it's in euro, so it recognizes that Frank is in Europe and buys off of European currency. It also has changed the actual dollar value of the price because this is a real-time a customer-specific price that we're pulling back directly from the ERP. The other thing that you'll notice has changed is that my availability is turned on. So I can see that there's 3,035 of these in stock rather than the fact that it's just available. Now, to take it a step further, I'm going to log out as Frank, and we're going to see what happens to the site when I log in as Stefan. So I'm going to log in as Stefan here. And now that I've done that, first off, if I come back out to the main outdoor page, I've got a completely different full page image banner. And the other thing that you'll notice is that many of my headers went away. I don't have portions of the catalog that Frank had or the public had. And this is where we get into that need to have that hyper personalization, right? If you do have 10,000 SKUs, I guarantee you've got some customers that only buy 5 of them, or they only buy from one category of your products. Why would we serve up a site to them that has 10,000 SKUs that they're going to have to go hunting and pecking through when we can serve up this nice hyper-personalized experience in just a portion of the catalog in order to help them get in and get out of the web store in an efficient manner? So when I log in as Stefan, I've got a completely different full page image banner. I've got different headers here. You can see my product categories changed. The other thing that you'll notice is that when I come back over to bikes again, I'm now looking at it in US dollars, but the price is different than what I was looking at it in US dollars publicly. And I can also see that there's 3,035 in stock, but that's a different amount than what Frank just saw, possibly because they're pulling from different warehouses depending on the location where they are. So there's quite a bit that you can do to make the site change and behave differently and become a lot more hyper-personalized to your customers. And that's what they want these days. Now, you can also, aside from creating an optimized assortment of product, create what we call customer segments. Customer segments allow you to provide different experiences to different groups of customers or individual customers. So as an example, when Stefan logs into the site, let's say hypothetically Stefan was over his credit limit, right? We could have a banner pop up that says, hey, Stefan, thanks for being a great customer, but you're over your credit limit. And if you wanted to do something like that, all you have to do is come into the Sauna admin panel, and you create what we call a customer segment, and I'm going to create a new segment, and I'm going to call it credit limit banner. And then you're literally just going to pick the field from the ERP from within the customer master record that you want to use to drive that segment or that behavior. So in this case, I pick credit limit field, I give it a condition and a value, and then maybe I decide that I only want this to be applicable to my customers in the US and not Canada. So I want to segment this further by country code. You could do that as well. So very easy to create these hyper personalizations, and I could use a customer segment to offer different payment options, different shipping options from one customer to the other, or to have the site, look and feel completely differently, once they log into it with different content elements. So now that we've talked about that hyper personalization, the other thing that's important to note when we're talking about getting customers efficiently through the web store is that you've got to give them ways of getting in and out without having to go searching and hunting and pecking, right? Even if you are down to 2 categories or 1 category like these bikes, there's a couple of things that we can do in order to really help them get in and out fast. And the first one is that your B2B buyers that have become familiar with your catalog probably know the partial name or a full number of a SKU, right? So they could come in here and they could just type in WRC as an example, and it will start pulling back the items from your ERP system that match their criteria so that they could very quickly add that item to their cart. The other thing that they can also do is save the cart as a template. So once they have created a shopping cart, if this is something that is going to be monthly recurring, we'll call this my monthly recurring encore order, and I can create as many templates as I'd like to. Now, once I've created those templates, they can either be found within the My Account section, or I could come back into the shopping cart. Next time I come to the site, I don't need to do any hunting and pecking. I just click Load Template, and then I can see that template right here. Make sure it's the right one that I want to use, assuming that I might have multiple templates there, and then I can add it to the cart. And it gives me a nice starting point, right? Once it's added to the cart, I can change the quantity, I can uptick, downtick quantities, I could add or drop an item, but I don't have to go starting from scratch building an order every single time. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click Proceed to Checkout, and we're going to see how quick and efficient the checkout procedure can be. All of the ship to information is already on file, right? We're grabbing it directly from the customer master in the ERP. If there are multiple ship tos, then I can filter and select the appropriate one, or I could hand key a new one in altogether. But I'm just going to go ahead and click Next Step, which is going to take me to my delivery method and then possibly payment method if we're offering credit card payments. In this case, I'm just going to pay via invoice with net 30 terms. And so I'm going to go ahead and fill out a couple of fields maybe and just submit my order. Now, this is where the magic happens, right? Because traditional e-commerce is not in real time and it's not truly integrated with Microsoft Dynamics ERP. It's really more interfaced with ERP, which means it's also syncing orders on a particular frequency. However, this is not a Sauna generated order number. This is a D365, in this case, Business Central generated order number, which has already been created back over in the ERP system. And if I were to click copy and come over here into Business Central and search for that particular order number, there you can see that it was already created in real time. The other thing, excuse me, that you can see is that it is also bidirectional, right? Which means that if I were to come into this particular order and change this quantity from 4 to 2 as an example, and save and close out and come back out here to the web store and refresh my page, you'll notice that that quantity just changed from 4 to 2. Okay, so that is what real time really means, everybody. We've got a bidirectional integration so that every time an order is placed out on the web, it's created in real time in the ERP, and every single time something changes in the ERP, whether it be the price or the availability levels, that's reflected out in the web store in real time as well. Now from here, I can edit the order, possibly if it's not posted yet. I could download the order, I could reorder from here. I could come into the My Account section and I could look at my entire order history. And it doesn't matter if it was an order that came in via EDI or that was hand keyed into the system by one of my sales reps 2 years ago, or whether it was an order that was created in the Sauna web store. Okay, we've got that full transparency into the ERP. Remember, Sauna is a window into the ERP system. And from here, your customers can see their entire order history, quote history, invoice history. They can look up returns, create returns, buy off of a sales agreement, access their credit notes. So there's quite a bit they could do here. And you can even turn this into a payment portal, right? Hook this up to a payment service provider or use Sauna Pay. And all of a sudden now you've got ACH, e-check, or credit card payments. And from here I can come in, I can look at my invoices, see what's outstanding, select one or multi-select to pay multiple invoices, view the details of the invoice, and I can actually get to the actual copy of the invoice from here myself. So I know what you're thinking, which is, wow, this would be great if my customers would love it if they could do this on their own. But what's even better is they don't have to pick up the phone and call your back office staff. And your back office staff should be able to operate a little bit leaner and not have to worry about spending so much time on some of these mundane tasks. So should be a win-win for both sides involved. So now that we've gone through, really kind of talking heavily about the B2B functionality and how we can hyper-personalize the site, the next thing that I want to cover is I want to log in as a salesperson within your own organization. And when I log in as a salesperson, and it looks like my internet is starting to move a little slow, bear with me here. There we go. When I log in as a salesperson, I have the ability to come into the My Account section. And from here, you can see that I can create a prospect order, which is nice because if I'm out meeting with a customer, right, or a prospect rather, and I have a successful meeting and they want to make a purchase right there on the fly, normally we have to have a new customer master created back in the ERP. But what this will allow me to do is to actually create a request for a new customer master to be created, and it'll create an order, a quote rather, in the ERP system, which can then get converted into an order once that customer master is created in the ERP. The other thing that your salespeople have the ability to do is represent a customer. Now, when they represent a customer, like New Concepts Furniture as an example, and hit the select button, they are now looking at the portal through the customer's eyes, right? Which means any of these hyper personalizations, this customer specific pricing, the customer assortment that has been created, for that particular customer is all going to be there visible for the salesperson. So they're literally looking at the portal through the customer's eyes. Now from here, they could come in any of the ways that I showed you that you could, start to add items to your cart from the catalog. They could come in and do, whether it's a bulk order upload, which I haven't showed you yet, or whether it's the quick product lookup or saving a template. Point is that they can go ahead and they can build out a cart for that customer. And then they also have the ability to either create a quote or an order. And this can be turned off for companies that maybe aren't doing quotes. But from here, they could go ahead and they could click Get Quote as an example, and then walk through that checkout procedure. And then at the end of that process, Sauna is going to create a new quote in the ERP system. And hypothetically, it could now email out an email notification to the customer, letting them know their quote's been created. Customer picks up that email, looks at it, clicks a hyperlink. It takes them to the quote page where they can download it, edit it, or convert it to an order, which I'm missing here in my demo environment as I actually have that functionality turned off here. But they could go ahead and convert it to an order, which means Sauna would flip it from a quote to an order in real time. Now I want to spend a little bit more time in the admin panel. And there's a couple of things that I want to highlight here. I could sit here and demo functionality in the admin panel for hours, and we don't have that today, so I'm going to be a little bit picky. The first thing that I want to show is I want to show how easy it is to build content. Again, mentioning earlier, you don't have to be a developer, you don't have to be a designer, you don't need to know how to code. Okay. I can come into the Sauna admin panel, and if I wanted to create a new content page here, I could. I could also edit my existing content pages from here. Maybe I want to create a new content page, but I don't want to start from scratch, right? I want to repurpose something that I've already built. So as an example, maybe I want to take the existing home page and I want to use that. So I just searched for the Outdoora homepage, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to duplicate this. So the way that Sauna is built from a content standpoint is it's what we call a visual designer, which means you can make all of the page changes right on the page as you're looking at it. And it also means that it's all drag and drop. Okay, so it's very, very easy. As an example, if I wanted to move this piece of content down here below the bike, I could do that. If I wanted to come down here and I wanted to move this element over to the left because I like the shrubs ahead of the outdoor plants, I could do that. It's extremely easy, and again, I don't need to be technical. Now, if I wanted to, as an example, add the upload bulk order function, which I was talking about before, I could just come in here and I could add a new content element. So I'm going to add a row, and I'm going to add it above this We Are Outdoora section. And from here, this is all built on a 12-column grid structure. So I can pick the layout, basically, of this particular row and how many columns I want to have. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add one column. And from here, I click Add Content Element, and then I can come down here and I could add a shopping cart upload functionality. So if you've got customers that order hundreds of items at a time, basically you can create a spreadsheet that has a couple of different columns, right? Item number, quantity, maybe a variant ID. And from here, they could come into the site and they could download that sample CSV file, fill out that spreadsheet, drag and drop it to right here, and it builds the cart out for them. Now, if I wanted to can this all together, which I'm going to do, we're going to change the idea behind it, and instead, we're going to add a YouTube video. I've always really wanted to have a YouTube video on this particular page. So bear with me for just a second, and I'm going to copy a YouTube video from one of my other screens. As soon as I can get my keyboard to work. There we go. And let's find a fun video. Well, we were looking at like that bicycle ride earlier, right? Here, scenic indoor cycling, Arches National Park. I'm an outdoorsy guy, I like that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy. And turn that video off, and now I'm gonna come back over here to the background video, and I'm gonna pop that in there, and I'm gonna click Save Changes. Okay, now you can see that I've added that YouTube video, but I haven't created a large enough content element for it to reside. So I'm going to edit the column settings again. And this time I'm going to give it a minimum column height desktop of 600. And I've also decided that I don't like the hard edge borders, right? I want them to be rounded. I want it to mimic the rest of the site. So I'm going to come over here to the border radius, and I'm going to change my pixelation. And I want the upper left to be rounded, and I want the bottom right to be rounded as well. And I come over here, I save my changes, and boom, now I've got this interesting bike ride video through Arches National Park. And notice that it is rounded off on the corners up here. And again, if I want to move this up the page, I can do that. So Sauna's made it very, very easy to add content, design the website, make it look like your unique branding, and to do it in this very drag and drop fashion. The other thing that I want to point out too is that we have a lot of other capabilities aside from just adding content. You also have the ability to create things like discount codes. checkout offers, BOGO, right? Mix and match, buy one of these, get one of those, are things that we actually enable your ERP system to be able to handle. And then more recently, we also introduced what we call Sauna Commerce Insights, which is an analytics engine. And the power of Insights is pretty special because most e-commerce platforms, or in fact all e-commerce platforms, are going to give you the ability to monitor web analytics, either through the platform or through leveraging Google Analytics, right? But what they don't have the ability to do is to take that web data and meld it together with your ERP data and analytics. And when you can pull those together, you can really start to paint some and notice some very actionable insights. So as an example, I could pop here over into the analytics side and I could start drilling into my dashboards, and I might see with a particular item that 80% of my customers are purchasing it offline, but they're doing the research online, right? I need my ERP data and my web data in order to be able to tell that. Now, what's even more interesting is when the customer gets a phone call from the salesperson or somebody internal at your organization to ask why they're doing their research online versus making the purchase online also, they might find out that they weren't sure of the dimensions because they weren't listed on the product page and they didn't know if it was going to fit in their office. Well, in that case, you now have the information that you need in order to get better web store adoption and be able to continue to scale up those online sales using less resources back office. So I did want to just point that out, that we've just released this analytics capability that does marry the two together. And you get out of the box executive overview, reports and dashboards, and these are all drillable. So you can see I can filter, and get a little bit further down into my data. I can see web store performance. I can take a look at adoption. And we're also going to pair you together with one of our customer success managers in order to really start to drive the KPIs that you're shooting for, right? What kind of web store adoption are you looking for? What are you trying to do from a revenue generation standpoint year over year? And we're going to have you pair together very closely with that customer success manager so that you are working towards best practices in order to hit those KPIs. So very partnership centric approach. But anyhow, a lot of really cool new dashboarding functionality that has been released as well. And like I said, I could sit here and we could go through the admin panel in quite some detail. However, I did want to leave some time for Q&A, and if there is anybody that is out there today that would like a more in-depth overview and demo that might be a little bit more pertinent to your business and use cases, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and or reach out to your rep over at Encore, and we can get that set up for you. So with that being said, I am going to turn it back over to Melissa. And Melissa, maybe you can let us know if there has been any questions that have come through.
Yes, there has been a few. So one, I just wanted to say, someone asked if we'll be recording this for reference, and yes, we are recording it, and that will be sent out to everyone. And I have a few more questions here, so if I can ask you those. What will guarantee the return on investment if I put my money towards e-commerce?
Yeah, that's a tough one. We looked at some of the statistics earlier, right, where I think it was 64% of respondents in that one particular research study had said that they had ROI within less than a year, and I think it was 84% of them said that they did under 2 years. Obviously, there's no guarantees with anything, right? It's what you put into it is what you get out of it. Now, I will say that what we're seeing in the market right now is that the buyer's needs are changing. E-commerce has been on the rise for 3 or 4 years, but Satya Nadella, mentioned shortly after COVID that we saw literally, 10 years of digital transformation, I think, in a 3-month window, or maybe it was 3 years, and I'm overstating that, but you get the point, right? Organizations are trying to figure out what they need to do to meet the changing need of the buyer, and the fact that buyers are getting younger. And we're seeing organizations, all the time that are starting to fall behind other competitors, or they look in the rearview mirror and they have more competition there than they used to. And the customers want the ability to get the information, buy the product when and where they want to. And so I firmly believe that if you invest in e-commerce and you take the approach that we talked about earlier of making sure that you're improving the site and enhancing the site, and that you pick a platform that's scalable to do that with you, that you're no doubt going to have a significant ROI within the first couple of years, if not sooner. So it's a hard question to answer. I hope that answers it. That's about as good as I can answer it.
All right, great, thanks. Okay, next question. How do I get my clients to self-serve on our site more?
Yeah, that's a good question too. How do I get them to self-serve? I mean, I think that's funny because it kind of dovetails into where we just ended, right? And it's all about the analytics is going to help because I can take a look at and identify those trends, right? What am I seeing and why am I not getting the web store adoption that I want? But at the end of the day, you can't be afraid to ask your customer what's holding them back, or what they like, right? What's keeping you from buying on our web store? Because like I said, we noticed, you're doing 80% of your research, online, and then picking up the phone and calling a salesperson. You have to make it easy to use. You have to make it simple. You have to hyper personalize it for those B2B customers, because they don't want to come in and hunt and peck through 14,000 SKUs. You just need to you need to make it efficient for them. And it's interesting, companies don't have to compete on price anymore if they get this right. In fact, I had a customer that we onboarded about a year and a half ago. They were a structural engineering company, a manufacturer of structural engineering products. They created these workbenches and different types of structural engineering products that are used in manufacturing facilities like of Tesla, Google, Lockheed Martin. And they didn't have an online presence. And their largest customer, Tesla, left them and went to their distributor. And their distributor was charging 2 times as much as the manufacturer was. And Tesla was happy to pay twice as much because it was a better customer experience. And at the end of the day, they could go online, they could self-serve. And because the distributor had e-commerce, they were able to process orders faster and get them from an open order into pick, pack, ship, and out the door. And as a result, they were more reliable at night. So in talking with the CEO just a couple of weeks ago, I found out that they got Tesla back 6 months ago. And he can sleep at night now, knowing that they've got just absolute reliability without compromise, and such a great customer experience for them. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question. But at the end of the day, you need to listen to your customers, and in order to listen to them, you got to ask them, and don't be afraid to do that.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more here. So as a manufacturer, we've changed our business model to selling direct to consumer. What has your experience been with similar companies?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a big shift right now towards that. It used to be manufacturers, all sold through distributors. Now what we're seeing is we're starting to see manufacturers go direct to consumer, and they haven't really been in a position to be able to do that without e-commerce, right? And a presence in e-commerce. But e-commerce has lended the ability to do that now and to scale it. It's interesting because as I talk to companies in different industries and verticals, you have to be careful, in some cases, when you've had a distributor model, and that makes up the lion's share of your business, and you go direct to consumer, we don't want to offend, the companies that we've been building relationships and distributing through for, 30 years. And so I've seen some organizations get creative. As an example, they kind of give a first right of refusal to their distributors. And if their distributors don't pick up the product within 30 days, they open it up direct to consumer. And they just let they're open and honest and transparent with the distributor, letting them know that's what they're going to do. So yeah, it's interesting. We've seen some companies do it very, very successfully, but I think you just need to take a look at what makes the most sense for your business. Is it something that you can pull off, and can you get creative pulling it off without damaging other relationships? But do note your competitors are starting to do this, and if you want to keep your market share, you ought to think about it. And if nothing else, maybe even exporting some of your products out to like an Amazon marketplace or something like that. Again, it's all about omnichannel, right? How do you figure out a good balance of selling through Amazon, through your corporate web store, through your distributors, and through your salespeople? It's all about omnichannel these days.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike. Okay, I think we can probably wrap this up now. Thank you so much. That was
Hey,
really
thanks.
interesting.
Yeah, thanks
We'll
for
be
having us.
Yeah, we'll be emailing the recording out to everyone, like I said, and please contact us or Mike at Sauna if you have any questions. And I want everyone to have a good afternoon.
Great. Thank you. Bye now.